Gumboots is a rhythmic cultural dance that was created by men in the golden mine in Johannesburg during the apartheid era. These men left their homeland to actually seek for work in Johannesburg, and the only work that was available at the time, it was mine working. So during their work period, these guys were obliged to talk to each other. They were chained to each other, and they were working in very harsh conditions. They were working with normal shoes, and the mines at the time, there was a lot of flood. So, they would get feet infection, their feet would swell and all that. So the foremen or the bosses, they thought, instead of draining the water out of the mines, it would be easy for them and cheaper to buy these guys the Wellington boots. So first, they couldn't speak to each other. They couldn't even talk to each other because of the diverse language that they had. Around Africa, we have about 58 different languages, not even dialects, but languages. So while they were chained to each other, they created or they came up with the language called the Gumboot language. So all this storm, heat, or shake, it was a form of language itself. Let's say if the foreman was coming and someone see the foreman, he'll just look. Then the other one would know, or they would just don't rush. They even like rush. All this is like rush. There's no time, The foreman is here. And if the walls go down, they would mainly use the chains. If they put in a dynamite, they would use the shakers around them, and then they will shake them, and the sound will go on and on till the last guy, So everyone is aware now that the dynamite is about to go. And during their spare time, they kind of they it started like it's a play, because they thought, inside we're doing all this slapping and stomping and using this, every time they just sitting there, they come in with more without even realizing that they creating an extraordinary sound. They were just going, slaps, So the history or the rhythm itself started developing more and more and more. It became interesting to them too, because it was a way to change their sad feelings to the positive. And in most cases, as far as going and seeing their family, the bosses, they will decide at the time that, okay, between 3 months to 6 months, who's going home and seeing their family. And in most cases, they were so sad, the fact that One day working in harsh conditions, were underground for 16 hours or more a day. They're not supposed to be talking to each other. They were living in hostels, filthy hostels. So they thought, let's use whatever we have to our advantage. We communicate anyway using these boots and shekels, and let's just use that to advantage. Let's during our spare time, let's create more steps. Let's create more hits. Let's shake these shakers more. They start creating more, like having fun, laughing, and they would make fun of their foremen, they would make fun of their bosses, they would make it was more like a clown act during their spare time. The bosses saw these guys, the joy that they have, and the sound and the rhythm that they creating. They thought, we can use this to welcome our guests. And then, they started entertaining guests. And every guest came, they'll call like about group of people. So talking about, the gumboots itself, like inside and the shekels mainly was not to slave them, because these guys voluntarily, like they chose to work there. So the shekels that they were putting on their feet is to manage them. They'll put them in pairs or in threes or four or five. And in that way, if something, let's say if one get to like a trouble where, they cannot move their feet or something, the other guys can help. Because think about it, if we were working like singles and something goes down, we all gonna run out because it's safety. And if you in pair with your fellow African or your fellow brother, you'll always gonna like try to help them out too. So they use the shekels mainly for safety, not for slavery. The hostels that they used to live in, it's a places that their bosses built for them to live there. It's a place right next to the mine. So they basically like live in just one area. There's mini stores there where they can buy their own food, whatever. Just small supplies, not even like a supermarket where you can go and buy groceries. I mean, these guys didn't have like storages, they didn't have refrigerators, they didn't have so much. And there's always rules everywhere, either in the mines or in the hostels. They were not supposed to be bringing any girls in the hostels. It's a man, building, and it's a working environment. You're not supposed to be bringing friends. You're not supposed to bring family. You're not supposed to bring your wife. You're not supposed to bring your pet. And these guys, of course, they have different cultures where they from originally from their homeland. And me myself, I'm a Zulu. A Zulu people, they animal people, they hunting people. They use a lot of hands within their dance. They use a lot of hands. They form lines. They interpret a lot of animals. And talking about Sutu people are more like they wear blankets. It could be cold or hot. They'll be wearing blanket. And the main thing of the blanket is basic. They spiritual people. The blanket represents the ancestors. So if someone within the ancestors, pass away, one within the family has to wear a blanket. In that case, if that particular person that passed away comes to the dream and say, I'm cold or whatever, it's one has to wear that to cover the cold. So in most cases, when you look at them, they always like down to earth. They wearing blanket. So in most cases, their movement is more down and it's more like just small movement. All these form of their own culture, they interpret it and actually put it into their movement. So that's why, like in most cases, when you see a campus dance, you'll see a small movement, and then you see like a big movement. A small movement, in most cases, it's a cold movement. It represents the sadness, the harshness of life, and all this, it's more happy, it's more wild, it's more happy, and for sure, they experience a lot in a month. From what I've been told, they experience a lot. For an example, if someone dies in the mine, it's a lot for these guys. It's a lot, the fact that they already, just by being there in Johannesburg, they already lost their families because they see them once or twice in a year. At first, most of the guys, they were like Central and South of Africa, not mainly in Johannesburg. And they kind of form another family with these guys, that they work in. So, in most cases, if someone dies, it's sad. That's where it goes back to the Sotho culture. When time goes, these guys, they started like kind of understanding or having an understanding to the Johannesburg culture, because now the guys from Johannesburg will come and work there. The fact that they live there, they just go home instead of staying there in the hostels. They started going to the nightclub, of which we call them shebeens. So they will go to the shebeens and actually like mingle with the crowd there. And they also took Gumboots to Josie. The guys around Johannesburg, we call it Josie. Guys around Johannesburg will start kind of like be interested in learning the Gumboots, and that's how it actually went from simple steps and the entertainment in their work period to the theater. So these guys, they started kind of like learning now the Johannesburg culture, the slang, so they would learn a lot on how like these guys like walk or talk, and then they would take that and interpret it to their movement, or the sassiness of the girls in the shebeens where they were drinking, like, sugar, or all this stuff, or the bouncers in the shebeen, like we're talking about a big guy. So these guys will know because it's their language. They used to like signs and stuff. They'll just use their eyes and be like, then they're talking about the big guy over there. And then like, the big guy over there, maybe the big guy is looking at the sassiness, like, just small thing like that, they would already like just cracking up, So and that they used it, and even today the campus always like evolved from then till now. What they have been performing back then is different from now. It has been just going up and up and up and up and up. Yes, it started as a culture. Yes, it started as as something that they have to like kind of find a way to communicate, and then it becomes an entertainment, and then now it's something you can take it anywhere. You find campus in the theater, you find campus in like big productions, so many people in South Africa have been talking about it, and so many people have tried to learn, and even white people, they now doing campus. So it's like, you go to South Africa, it's like it's not a dream, but people, they wanna know what it is, because it's one of the dance form that it's actually existing even today, that made that made history in South Africa. So it's a powerful dance. It's if you see someone doing gumboots, you would see the power in it. You would see the sadness in it. You would see the anger in it. You would see the happiness in it. It's not just the one feeling all the way. Its nature changes according to the story they're trying to portray at the time. So within one, let's say within a minute, they would tell a story just by slapping boots. When you look at them in their faces, they will tell a story in a minute of their sadness and happiness and all that. Like you'd see it in like just 1 minute when you see someone doing Gumboots.